Hello. I would just like to ask you a question that I am sure must be going through everyone's mind, although it's very, very difficult, I realize, to answer.
Sure.
I'd just like your personal opinion. What do you think is going to bring down this market? I'll hang up and listen to your reply.
Okay, Karen. I'm going to assume that you mean bring it down hard or strong.
It's the bottom to drop out of it, and it just, I have a feeling that something is going to knock it off the cliff.
Well, here's the great question, Karen. I'm glad you asked. Here's the issue. This is why, if someone said to me, "Why are you really concerned about this market bottoming out?" Because some are saying it's going to. Here's the issue. There's about 5 things that could do that. Now, God forbid that all 5 of them happen at once. But we have a situation that if China's economy finally collapses, and I believe it's on the verge of doing so, we don't know. Remember, this is communist China. We only know what they tell us. But when we look at trade, when we look at some of the few things, there's not many that we can get a handle on, we know that they're in trouble. That's going to be one thing. If Europe continues on the trajectory that they are on now, that's going to be one thing. If the U.S. debt continues on the trajectory that it's on, if unemployment continues, if something happens in an interruption in the flow of energy, if something happens where energy gets expensive, if something happens that threatens further our discretionary income here, like healthcare costs, like a utility cost, things like that. We're so fragile of an economy, both globally and here in the U.S., that it's only going to take a hiccup in any one of these things, and we could see the bottom draw out. I could get detailed and say if the derivative market begins to fail, we're doomed. I could say that if the municipal bond market fails, we're doomed. I could say if state pension funds, not 50, but if 2 of them begin to fail, we're in big, big trouble. If, I could go on, there's so many technicals of the financial world that could cause the bottom to drop out. So I would say any one of those things. I believe one of the biggest threats that we are facing are geopolitical threats. And when I say geo, I don't mean international only. I mean, or overseas. I mean, even right here. Any one of a political threat that is going to threaten the well-being of Americans and threaten the well-being of our economy because of more failed policies, political, we're doomed. We're done because we cannot. We are at a place finally where we have no ammunition. Central banks could try negative interest rates. That may be an ammunition, but we've already seen the failure of that. It hasn't worked. So I can't imagine they would do it. Yes, I can, but you would think they wouldn't do that. There is no place where government can step in. Government can allow things to fail and then bail out. Frankly, I think that if there is a continuation of President Obama in the White House for the next 4 years, then a crisis is going to be a wonderful thing for them. And I think that the crisis, some could argue, will even begin to be created. In the midst of a crisis, you don't have to keep any campaign promises. In the midst of a crisis, you gain more social control. In the midst of a crisis, the government gains more power. In the midst of a crisis, the government gets bigger because the government needs to be more intrusive in everyone's lives and in the private sector and in free market economies. A crisis is exactly what the ideology of Clinton Obama would like to see happen. So I would suspect there would be one. But it's any one of so many things. And certainly one of those things is going to be, a dramatic, maybe it could be as simple as social unrest elevating to something further than what it is. Social unrest is extremely bad for economies. If you look at it in a microcosm kind of way, we can look at Baltimore and see all the businesses that moved out during the riots of the 70s that clobbered the economy of Baltimore for a number of years. We saw that again last year in Baltimore when small mom and pop operations that had been looted and destroyed over and over again said, we can't do this anymore. We don't have the resources to rebuild or to reopen. And what little we have, we're going to do it out in the suburbs where we have a chance of survival. And we see how impactful that is on the economy. We have so many things threatening the security of the economy, not to mention things that I've mentioned like derivatives and credit default swaps and central banks threatening if we have any fundamentals in the markets. So it's too. There used to be a day when you could say, well, it's going to be probably one of these two things. It's not that way anymore. We are at a place, Karen, where there are so many things that could threaten this market. Now, having said that, are there some things that could help the economy? Yes. But if we don't stop the growth of poverty that this president has presided over every single month since he's been in office, if we don't stop the dependency upon government that we have seen increase every month since this president has been in office, if we don't begin to see a real fiscal policies coming out of Washington, D.C. that can incentivize growth in the economy, if we don't see some of these things and if we don't stop some of these things, then we're doomed. And I believe that we can slow them down to the point where we can start seeing some fundamental, some organic growth and some growth come into the economy. And I'll tell you something else. I don't think it's hard. There are some out there saying it's impossible. There are some saying out there that it is never going to happen. We're too far gone. I don't believe that. I believe not only aren't we too far gone, I believe it's going to be easy to fix. I believe it's an easy fix. I believe Social Security is an easy fix. I believe Medicare is an easy fix. I believe some of these programs are very easily fixed. I believe the social issues that we have in and around so much money being spent on disability benefits is very easy to fix. I think all of these things can be fixed fairly easily. The problem that we have and the problem that I'm most concerned about, Karen, is we don't have the will to fix them. We've got Republicans, the royal elite of the Republican Party, that are scared to death of Donald Trump because they're going to impact their personal way of life and their way of doing politics. And we have the same on the Democratic side. I mean, the will has to be there to make these things work. We'll be right back. You're listening to Financial Issues. We're trying to come to you every day. We're trying to help you be the best steward you can be with what God's given you.